Hello, my name is Charlie, and this is my presentation for my critical infrastructures. So in this presentation, I want to focus on data collection being literally the collection of data, whether that's through surveys or just collecting data through cookies or something like that. And then how this data collection is used within computational infrastructures and how that data collection can affect specifically the LGBT community and the impact that it has with things like bias and other things to do with data collection that I'll get into. So one of the largest cases of LGBT data collection is actually the 2021 UK census, which was the first UK census to openly ask about sexual orientation and gender identity. And then what they did is they presented all of this data in this map, which shows you, the density of gay people, the density of trans people, and where the majority of these people live throughout the UK, majority being in and around London. Now what this map does show is it shows obviously the density of population, and an issue with this is obviously that means that the locations and the communities in which there's likely to be lots of queer people and lots of gay people can possibly be targeted, and it's very exposing of where people live and where they will go out and live their lives. Now, whilst the 2021 census does show that there has been an increase in queer people and LGBT people and people being more open about their gender identity and sexual orientation, what that data doesn't show is that there has also been a huge decrease in LGBT spaces and venues. So whilst the data does show that there has been an increase in LGBT people, it is not revealing that the spaces in which LGBT people socialize, hang out, work, and other things are rapidly decreasing whilst the number of people is increasing. Now, to explore this, I actually did a digital walk around London, exploring all the former LGBT venues, so venues that were formerly venues catering to LGBT people, but have now closed down and are either just sort of mainstream businesses or are just completely shut with kind of nothing happening there at all. Here we have the Queen's Head, we have the Green Carnation, and the Candy Bar, the former lesbian bar, has interestingly been turned into a gentleman's club. So I thought that was a kind of interesting analysis in the kind of changeover of what these LGBT venues are kind of being turned into. So I continued my walk from Soho into the rest of London. So we have the Black Cap in Camden, which has been completely shut down and is currently just not in use. You have Madame Jojo's, which is also completely shut down and just not in use. So what we're seeing is a big decrease in LGBT spaces, but these spaces are also not being turned into anything. So we're getting a huge kind of decrease in LGBT venues, but also a huge kind of waste of sort of spaces and houses and rooms which can be used for multiple things. Now again, as I said kind of in the start of my presentation, whilst the UK census, the data from that again presents the amount of LGBT people increasing, again what that data doesn't show is that the amount of homophobic hate crime is also increasing. So whilst the data can kind of present the UK and present London as kind of very LGBT friendly and very kind of open, what that data doesn't show is whilst LGBT people are increasing, the amount of hate towards them is also increasing. So I think presenting the data how it's presented in the census can be very misleading because it doesn't present the entire it doesn't show what that data means, what it means to have a high population of LGBT people if you don't include other sets of data along with it. And I think that's one of the issues with data collection within kind of computing infrastructures, because it can get really skewed if you don't pair it with other sets of data, just like in this case. Now, to show this, I've created a series of posters, just visualizing some of that data. So, for example, the decrease in venues and the amount of hate crimes. As you can see, since 2006, the amount of LGBT venues has decreased by 58%, going from 125 in London alone to 51 in London alone in 2019. Then, as you can see here, the amount of hate crime has increased rapidly. Just in 5 years, it's gone from 2016 reports to 3,111 reports. That's a staggering increase within 5 years, and that's a staggering decrease in venues within just a few years. So I think there is, and through this data visualization, I think you can really see that there is a correlation between those two factors. And so I wanted to use the data and use the data visualization to really show that there is a very possible correlation between the decrease in safe spaces for LGBT people and the increase in hate crimes against them. So this data collection also affects other parts of our computational infrastructures. For example, the kind of newer aspects of our infrastructure like AI infrastructures, because with biased databases and with data that is not reflective of the whole situation, it can become very tricky with how AI will be incorporated within a kind of social system, because if it's backed up with information that is biased or or targets certain individuals, then socially the AI will become a sort of issue. And I think we see these same ideas and the same kind of anxiety within the kind of art that's being shown. So Zach Blass with his fag face masks, which is based on him scanning all the different features of multiple queer men and then creating a mask that kind of is able to work against kind of AI surveillance systems, which is obviously a kind of extreme way of kind of looking at data and data collection, but it shows that it is very much present within people's thoughts, and in queer people's thoughts and within queer people's minds, that there is a real anxiety about this type of data collection and how it's being used within our infrastructures. Now, to conclude, whilst data collection is a really useful tool for things like policy making and for showing things like there is an increase in LGBT people in the UK, I think what we also have to be concerned with is how sensitive this data is and how people can really be fired up by this kind of data, whether that's excited or angry about it. And obviously this data can be weaponized and used against people. So I think because data is so sensitive, it needs to be presented along with other sets of data, as I showed with my own data visualization. And then that way we can get a more rounded picture of what it is really like to be LGBT in the UK, as opposed to just kind of showing a statistic that is kind of vague and not really representative of what life is like here. So that is my presentation, and thank you very much.